More and more people are living paycheck to paycheck. The US economy is collapsing every single day. Cut by cut, it is weakening the economy. The GDP was revised down from 2% growth in the first quarter all the way down to 1.6%, and that will be revised down one more time before it's final. We have lost millions of jobs. There is no job creation, and 58% of companies plan on laying off in 2026. Personal bankruptcy is skyrocketing. Business bankruptcy is skyrocketing. Home foreclosures are up 25% higher than this time last year. Student loan delinquency is skyrocketing. People cannot pay their bills. People are out of work and cannot find work. It is going to get much worse, ladies and gentlemen. Inflation hit 3.8%, but economists expect 6% inflation by the end of June and 10% inflation by the end of September. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. We are in for very big trouble.
It is harder to find a job than it used to be. It is harder to find a job with benefits. And if that job has benefits, they are probably not as good as they used to be. Like, they won't include dental or vision or something like that. The apartments are more expensive than they ever have been, even though people are doing nothing to actually improve the apartments. If you've managed to get a job, it's probably not a great job. And if you've managed to get an apartment, it's probably not a great apartment. And because it's not great, you're not able to save more to get a better apartment, even though that would be great because you can barely afford the apartment that you have. Food costs more than ever. And because you aren't being paid well at work and you have no benefits, it's becoming increasingly expensive to be poor. Like, if you go 5 years without dental care and your issues pile up, pretty soon you'll need a root canal. And root canal is an expensive surgery. And maybe you won't get that surgery because you can't afford it because you don't have benefits and you don't have a good enough job to pay for it. Because minimum wage has been $7.25 since like 1950. And so you are continuously stuck in a cycle of things are bad, things are getting worse, and conditions are escalating way outside your control. But all of the people who can control it are comfortable because they got into the system when you could just apply for a job with a piece of paper at the branch of a local bank, and they've always had benefits, and they were able to save for a house on their minimum wage because their minimum wage was more proportional to the cost of living. And now that our cost of living is absolutely insane, nobody can save because everybody is just surviving, if they're even doing that. I don't think everything about a person is determined by the year they were born. I do know that the gap has widened so much so quickly that for some people, they have not kept up with how bad the conditions actually are. And that assistance is also not accessible for so many people. Like, if you can't afford an apartment, you also still might not qualify for like Section 8 housing.
Recently, a lot of people online have been talking about this weird feeling that when you walk into a store for a few things, leave with barely anything, and somehow still spend way more money than you expected. The conversations about rising prices, disappearing side hustle opportunities, and people constantly having to rethink what they buy all points to a bigger shift in how normal spending feels for everyday Americans. This video breaks down why so many people feel stuck between wanting a normal life and realizing that even basic purchases, extra income, and financial independence are starting to require way more effort than before.
People are absolutely struggling to afford groceries right now. I've tried to talk about this a few times, but there's new data out that shows for June, people bought 1.8% fewer items at grocery stores. And on its own, that number is certainly interesting. But we also know that prices since 2019 have gone up about 30 to 33%. And that 1.8% number, that's actually been going down by about 2% every single month since February. So not only have Americans had to deal with skyrocketing prices, but they are also now quite literally looking at things and putting them back on the shelf. The thing that worries me about this is food is the floor. Food is the last thing that people cut. You know, you can cancel a streaming service, or you can wait a little bit longer sometimes if you need to go to an appointment, or you can, keep driving your car instead of getting a new car. But food is definitely the last thing people cut, but people are cutting in this area. So this comes from Bain & Company, and they're pulling data from Nielsen IQ. So it's actual, tangible grocery store data where people are buying less. 80% of Americans right now are actually trying to spend less. 28% are specifically cutting how much they're spending on groceries. 56% of those people are trading down for like grocery store or off-brand items. And 49% are buying fewer things. Almost half of Americans are really focusing on coupons or discounts or promotions. And a big part of this that the business reports don't always talk about, other than one sentence or two, is the fact that some of this was kind of designed this way. We cut $187 billion from SNAP. Last year alone, 5 million people fell off the rolls of SNAP. 20% cuts. We also expanded work requirements to 64. We took away exemptions for veterans and homeless people for kids who aged out of foster care. This means increasingly that people are using food banks, but one of the leaders of a local food bank here in Nevada said very clearly, for every one person that is getting help at the food bank, 9 people are getting assistance through SNAP. You cannot fill all of that gap with food banks, and we shouldn't have to. So I guess the reason I'm mentioning this is if your shopping cart is smaller than it was before, I need you to hear this. You did not fail. You did not budget wrong. This isn't because you're bad at spending money. You're like part of literally millions of people who are responding to rising prices and the fact that your wages are not necessarily rising to match. This is a warning light, and it's not because you did something wrong.
I spent $62 fucking at Target today. You won't believe what I got. Scissors, because needed. A small thing of body wash. There's a bigger size. A small face wash. There's a bigger size. A little liquid IV action. Q-tips, Target brand, and these $7 earrings. All of this shit, $62. What the fuck is wrong with the world?
One of the strangest parts about today's prices is that it's not always about the expensive purchases that shock people. It's the normal things that are supposed to be easy to buy. A quick trip to Target or Walmart for a few basic items can suddenly turn into a decision-making process where every item gets questioned. You start thinking about whether you actually need something, whether it can wait, or whether spending that money now will make the rest of the week even harder. That's what makes rising prices feel so frustrating for a lot of people. It's not just about paying more for something, it's about losing the feeling that your money is actually getting you somewhere. A few years ago, spending $50 or $60 at a store might have you feeling like you left with a decent amount of stuff. Now, many people look at their bags afterward and wonder where all that money went. For a lot of younger people especially, this creates a weird introduction to managing money. Before many teenagers even have major responsibilities like rent or bills, they're already seeing how quickly money disappears. They're learning that being careful with spending doesn't always mean you feel financially comfortable. The hardest part is that people aren't even necessarily buying unnecessary things. A lot of the frustration comes from trying to afford regular everyday purchases and realizing that even being responsible still requires a lot more thought than it used to. When every small purchase starts feeling like a decision, shopping stops being so simple. It becomes another reminder that the cost of normal life is changing.
Hey, what's up, America? Walmart raises its prices and brings in higher class shit so that they can bring in wealthier fucking people. So Walmart has announced that it's going to start bringing in higher class items to try to lure in richer fucking people to its stores. Now this is because the middle class and poor don't have enough money to continue to even purchase stuff at Walmart. And so now Walmart has basically given up on middle class and poor shoppers and is raising its prices and bringing in, like I said, higher class shit so that wealthy, untapped people can come and purchase things at Walmart. Now this is happening with a lot of businesses here in the United States, not just Walmart, where they're starting to cater to people with more money because they realize the middle class and poor have no fucking money left because they've taken it all with their absolutely insatiable greed. Now this is happening at retail stores, big box stores like Walmart's, and also airlines starting to cater to high-class clientele. Now the problem with that is there may only be one wealthy person for every 300 or 400 people. And that one wealthy person, though they can purchase enough goods, services, and foods for 300 people, they're still only one person. So for instance, Elon Musk will only eat 3 times a day, even if he's worth $1 trillion. And even someone like Elon Musk will not displace the amount of people that are no longer purchasing, say at restaurants. So if you have Elon Musk eating at one restaurant 3 times a day, but it prices out 300 other people, that restaurant will eventually fail. because relying on the wealthy is not a good idea because there's far fewer wealthy people. And so you can only buy so many cars, so many private jets, eat at so many restaurants before you run out of you to spread around. And so this is why it's good to have repeat business and cater to the middle class so they can continue to come back and you can rely on that business. And if the super wealthy buy from you, then that's just an increase in a good thumbs up for the business. But what we're seeing is a great deal of people just spending all of their fucking time and resources catering to the wealthy, putting all their eggs in one basket because the poor and the middle class have nothing left. And it's just dragging out the inevitable, which is basically you're gonna have to face an economic downturn at some point. It doesn't matter if you're a motorcycle manufacturer, if you're making tools, if you're Walmart. In the current situation, your business is going to take a hit. You can either deal with it now or kick the can down the road and be shocked when your business drops 30% into the toilet, which that's what the speculation is.
We live in an economy today that DoorDash cannot even be a side hustle because y'all are giving people orders that is 10 miles. The pay is $7, $5. Are you okay? Y'all know how much gas is? Then that's putting wear and tear on your car. So basically all you're doing is you're remaking the money that you lost because you've been driving. So you really just making gas money that...
For a long time, the internet made making extra money almost look effortless. There were countless videos telling people that if they wanted more income, they could just deliver food, start a side hustle, or find some simple way to make money on the side. But a lot of people are realizing that this reality is more complicated. Some of the opportunities that used to be seen as easy ways to make extra cash don't nearly feel as rewarding anymore. Delivery apps are a good example of this. On paper, it sounds simple. Turn on an app, make deliveries, and get paid. But once you factor in the time spent driving, the cost that comes with the use of your car, and how much competition there is, the amount people actually keep can feel much smaller than expected. This creates a frustrating situation for younger people because they're constantly told to find ways to earn more, but many of the easiest opportunities are becoming harder to rely on. It's not that people don't want to work. A lot of people are willing to put in the effort, but they're noticing that the effort doesn't always lead to the same results it once did. That's why side hustles have changed from being one exciting opportunity into something more people feel pressured to do. Instead of being a way to make extra money on the side for fun goals, they're becoming something people look towards because they feel like they need another source of income. For teenagers and young adults especially, this changes the way they think about the future. They're growing up seeing that having a job might not always feel like enough, and they're trying to figure out how to build financial security in a world where even earning extra money takes more planning than expected. For a lot of people, the biggest change isn't that they suddenly want some expensive lifestyle, it's that the idea of a normal, comfortable life is starting to look different. A lot of younger people grew up hearing about the basic path to adulthood: get a job, save money, afford your own place, and slowly build stability. But now, many are watching how difficult that process has become, even for the people who are already working hard. That changes the way teenagers think about money before they even enter adulthood. Instead of thinking about what career they want or what they want to buy, many are already thinking about whether they'll be able to afford independence in the first place. Seeing more people live paycheck to paycheck creates a different mindset. It makes financial security feel less like something that naturally happens over time, and more like something you have to actively plan for from the beginning. That's why so many young people are paying attention to money earlier than previous generations. They're learning about savings, investing, and building income streams because they've seen what happens when people rely on just getting by. But the interesting part is that the goal for many people isn't even about becoming rich. It's about having breathing room. It's about being able to buy something without immediately feeling guilty, handle an unexpected expense without panic, and build a future that feels stable. The definition of doing well has quietly changed. For many people, success is no longer about having a lot of extra money. It's simply about reaching a point where normal life doesn't feel like a constant financial calculation. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, peace out.